There's a strange paradox in human behavior. We often push away the very people who are capable of giving us the love we always said we wanted. Not the toxic ones, not the unpredictable ones, not the emotionally unavailable ones. Them we sometimes cling to, chase after, or idealize. But the ones who are genuinely kind, emotionally present, consistent, patient, those are the ones many people distance themselves from. Why? Because real emotional availability doesn't just offer love. It demands something in return. It demands vulnerability. It demands honesty. It demands letting yourself be seen without the armor you've worn for years. And for many people, the idea of being emotionally seen feels more dangerous than being emotionally rejected. People don't push away healthy love because they don't want it. They push it away because receiving it requires them to confront parts of themselves they've kept buried. Let's break this down. The first major reason people push away those who care is unresolved emotional history. If you grew up around unstable affection, parents who were warm one day and dismissive the next, caregivers who made you earn attention, or environments where love was conditional, your nervous system learned one rule: closeness is unpredictable. So now when someone offers steady, sincere care, it feels emotionally disorienting. Not because it's bad, but because it doesn't match the emotional blueprint your early experiences created. Your brain trusts patterns, not promises. If love used to mean insecurity, then secure love won't register as safe. It will register as foreign. And people avoid what feels foreign, even if it's good. The second reason is fear of emotional debt. When someone cares about you genuinely, they aren't just giving, they're making space for you. They want reciprocity. They want connection. They want emotional presence, not perfection, presence. But for someone who is used to holding everything inside, who has built a life around self-reliance, who has survived by not needing anyone, giving emotional presence feels like a cost they're afraid they can't afford. Because if you let yourself rely on someone, you risk losing the only stability you've always trusted, yourself. Being truly cared for creates a silent pressure. What if I disappoint them? What if I can't give back enough? What if they expect more than I can offer emotionally? To avoid the burden of potential emotional expectation, many people retreat. They distance themselves not because they don't care, but because they're terrified they won't be able to meet the emotional intimacy that real connection requires. Another reason people push away caring individuals is the fear of emotional transparency. Avoidant behavior isn't just about withdrawing. It's about controlling what others get access to. If someone is distant, unreliable, or self-absorbed, you never have to expose the deeper parts of yourself. You can stay in the role of the giver, the fixer, the caretaker, the one who tries, because that role keeps you emotionally hidden. But a person who genuinely cares, who asks questions, who pays attention, who notices your shifts in mood, they see you. They see your reactions. They see your fears. They see your inconsistencies. They see the insecurity behind your aloofness. And for many, being seen is terrifying. There is also the issue of attachment reactivation. Healthy people activate parts of you that unhealthy people never touch. Toxic people keep you in a survival loop. Anxiety, chasing, proving, waiting, trying to decode mixed signals. Healthy people break that loop. They don't trigger your old coping mechanisms. Instead, they expose the emptiness underneath. The part of you that was always waiting to be loved, but never properly learned how to let love in. Unhealthy dynamics distract you from that emptiness. Healthy dynamics illuminate it. And a lot of people run from the things that illuminate them. There's another layer: self-worth distortion. Many people unconsciously believe they don't deserve healthy attention, not because they're unworthy, but because they were conditioned to associate love with effort. If love didn't come naturally, if it always required proving, pleasing, adjusting, or becoming someone better, then someone who cares without requiring performance will feel suspicious. Your mind will search for hidden motives, red flags, or future disappointments, simply because your internal model of love doesn't include ease. You push away not because the person is wrong, but because you don't trust the version of yourself that's being loved without conditions. Next comes fear of losing control. Indifference or emotional distance gives you power. When you don't care, nothing can hurt you. When you don't attach, no one can disappoint you. When you don't open up, nobody has leverage over your emotional world. But caring people break this illusion. They invite you into closeness. And closeness means losing the safety of emotional detachment. You can't control the outcome. You can't predict their feelings. You can't manipulate distance to protect yourself. Healthy connection requires surrender, and surrender feels like vulnerability. For many, vulnerability feels like danger. Here's another piece. People fear what comes next. Healthy relationships force growth. You can't hide behind your past. You can't blame everything on your trauma. You can't keep repeating self-destructive patterns. A partner who cares creates emotional accountability. You must communicate, self-reflect, show up, manage your triggers, and stop running. Some people push away because they're not ready to grow. There's also the psychological trap of comfort in chaos. If someone grew up in emotional chaos, then unpredictability becomes the emotional baseline. Calm feels empty. Consistency feels boring. Stability feels suspicious. Their mind interprets peace as something's wrong because they expect tension, conflict, or disappointment. So when someone is steady, patient, and invested, they trigger restlessness rather than safety. It's not that people want toxic relationships. It's that they've normalized emotional turbulence so deeply that healthy relationships feel emotionally flat. This is why some people sabotage good connections, not consciously, but through subtle distancing, shorter replies, overthinking, sudden withdrawal, creating conflict where none exists, going cold without explanation, redirecting attention to unavailable partners, pretending they don't care to regain emotional control. They're trying to return to the emotional environment that feels familiar, even if it hurts. But the deepest reason people push away those who care is this: accepting love requires accepting your own humanity. It requires acknowledging your flaws, your wounds, your fears, your needs. It requires admitting that you are not as self-sufficient as you pretend to be. It requires admitting that you want affection, stability, connection, things you may have convinced yourself you don't need. It requires admitting that you have the capacity to be hurt. And for many people, that admission feels unbearable. So they push away the people who care, not because they don't recognize the value, not because they fail to see the effort, not because they're uninterested, but because letting someone truly care breaks every defense they've spent years building. The tragedy is that most people don't realize this pattern until a caring person finally gives up. Only then does the regret hit. Only then does the fear dissolve enough to feel the loss. Only then do they realize that emotional safety was never the enemy. Their own fear was. But the good news? Patterns can change. Self-protection can soften. Your nervous system can relearn safety. You can build tolerance for being cared for. And eventually, you can let people in without running. Healing begins when you stop asking, "Why did they care about me?" and start asking, "Why did I believe I wasn't allowed to be cared for?" Because once you learn to accept love, real, stable, healthy love, you stop pushing away the people who can give it. And for the first time, connection feels like something you deserve, not something you fear.